Hi, welcome back to Storytime with Dad Booker. I appreciate you stopping by. Hope you're ready for our next chapter in Gods and More Gods. This one is A Fly in the Ointment. Retiring to his room, Don mulled over the day's happenings. The fact that they were treated with scant respect was irritating him. First, there was the idiot sleeping in the chair who couldn't rouse himself to take them to the gym. How could the place run when the employees were that lazy? Then Hercules and Hygeia training them as if they were freshman pupils instead of hand-picked gods. Sitting at the ornate gilt desk, he wrote out a list of complaints against the club staff. Feeling a little better, he conjured himself up and drank a glass of warm milk with a pat of butter and then went to bed. Karen entered the club and sat in the lounge. Hurtled approached with a drink but was unceremoniously brushed away. Being in close proximity, she could project herself into anyone's dreams with greater accuracy and increased intensity. She could have done it from the apartment, but she enjoyed the club's grandeur, and since access had never been rescinded, she availed herself of its amenities as often as she could. In a comfortable reclining chair, she focused on Don. Entering his dream, she was startled to find he was dreaming of strangling Hercules, while Hygeia looked at him with admiration. She shook her head at the pathetic imagings of these petty gods. Creating her image as a dark shadow figure with light streaming from behind, she deepened her voice and spoke imperially to Don. Don, you are the chosen one of the gods. Yours is the voice of reason and authority. You must mold these gods in your vision. Don writhed in his sleep, but a smile crossed his lips. She visited the other gods in turn, exhorting them to follow in Don's wake and do as he commanded. Ash was, of course, in complete agreement with this, at least for the moment. Gary's dreams were so moribund that she got the heebie-jeebies and left without saying anything. She couldn't convince Peter, Gladys, or Larry. As gods themselves, they didn't feel that one should be above all, and even in their dreams would not kowtow to Don. In the morning, it was easy to see how Karen's trial had affected them all. Don strode in the dining room, full of self-importance. Ash beside him, fawning and bowing obedience. The other three marched in, ready to prevent Don from taking over. Over breakfast, Don set the tone of what was to come. You know, I've been thinking lately, and what this group needs is someone we can all get behind, someone who's a leader who will take our needs and concerns up the chain, someone who can really guide us in making the best of the opportunity that we've been given. Looked around to see if they had any idea on who that leader might be. Ash immediately spoke up. Don, you've been close to Fred all this time. You know how to get things done, and you were always running around ensuring people were doing their best. Looked around to see if anyone was going to second his motion. Larry cocked an eyebrow. You know, I don't think being an officious busybody with no authority qualifies Don for leadership. Fred feels it's needed and wants to appoint someone as a leader, then I say that's the leader. Just saying you're the leader, don't make it so. Glass chimed in soothingly. Don, right now we're in training. Let's just focus on becoming proficient in our abilities first and worry about leadership if it's needed. Right now it's not. Peter and Gary agreed, and Larry seconded. Well, seems the motion is taken off the table, Don muttered. Well, for now, but I will be leader. After all, he had been appointed by someone in his dreams, and only a higher authority would have spoken to a god in his dreams. He sat back in his chair and admitted defeat, much to the relief of everyone except Ash, who was unhappy. With Don as a leader, he would be almost second in command. Then, who knows, he might be able to worm his way into taking over. He finished his breakfast, dreaming of being the one in charge. In a rear corner and hidden by a palm tree, Karen stomped her feet in anger. She had thought it was going to be so simple, convince Don to take charge, and she would run the show through him. Ash would do whatever he said, but the other three were going to be a problem, especially Gladys. As the calm voice of reason, she would be an obstruction to Karen's plans. She considered the remaining three, Larry, Gary, and Peter. She knew Larry of Larry's laziness and determined that he's not the one to go out of his way to take sides. Peter, she recalled, had been chosen because he actually worked and did it well. Gary, he was just a well of despair. She decided to focus on Peter. She could slide him over under Don, and they would wangle one more so the others would be outvoted and things would work out according to plan, her plan. Not Fred's. In the opposite corner, Berthold stood with hands folded. He had seen, heard, and understood all. Suddenly, he went back behind the bar. Dionysus came up for a refill and a quiet chat. The guys went to continue training, and as they passed the bar, they heard Dionysus laughing uproariously over a new joke Berthold had just come up with. In the meantime, Fred was in a meeting with his boss. From the center of a glowing orb of purest energy, his supervisor's voice boomed out. Fred, the Galactic Convention met recently and discussed yours as well as several other leaders' problems, bringing balance to their planets. Well, we feel it might not be a leadership fault in every case. Fred was glad they had finally seen it as a world problem, not just a leader's problem. We feel that the problem began with the first inception, in your case, the first creation of humans. These were created over 200 inceptions ago, and from these creations came every other human through the ages. Those humans' souls are everlasting and unchanging. Therefore, however, your sister's creation of them, and with whatever characters, morals, perceptions, etc., they were imbued with, those traits are brought to the fore at each rebirth. They may be slightly modified or certain aspects repressed or cultivated during their lifetime, but the soul never changes. Fred considered this carefully. It explained a lot. Karen had fashioned the first people as she had done, and so in her own image. She was sneaky, self-centered, self-serving, and loved pomp and ceremony. He was her opposite and was more concerned with others and had immediately rebuilt the Spirit's holding facility to give the Spirit's occupation in periodic form in order to make their time in limbo more interesting and agreeable. He considered this a much more productive use of spirit energy than the gods and himself sitting on a throne and having every one of them praising the gods and the gods praising their leader for the interim between inceptions. This was Kieran's idea of how to deal with the off time. Her and the guys visited the club often, but the spirits had to continue praising them and Kieran. She missed being in charge, but missed even more the constant adulation. His boss had divided his original leadership creation, named Conrad, into two opposing leaders as an experiment to see which was more proficient at leadership. Fred relaxed a little since his boss understood the struggles he was having and wasn't blaming him as a failure. He was shown a galactic map and the location of RCC. It was in a new, similar position as the previous had been, near the edge of the galaxy and with another 8 planets. This time, though, another Earth was mixed in with the others. It spun on the opposite side of the sun. Eventually, it would pass close enough for travel between it returning to its original... Eventually, it would pass close enough for travel before returning to its original place and remaining there until the next conjunction. If Fred could populate both planets and have trade between them for the years they would be close enough for it, then he would remain in charge permanently, and the gods he had chosen would become officially gods with all the rights and privileges appertaining thereto. Fred considered the time and his team had to prepare the people for advancement and growth to the point that travel between space was possible at a probable 7 million years. Well, with a timetable and focus, he could give his gods a reason to succeed. Once he had a timetable to work with and the incentive to make it possible. He hadn't felt this sure of things in a long time. His boss floated to their pedestal, and their glow became brighter, filling the void of his office with light and warmth. He transported Fred to the Earth. Okay, that's it. The next one is the Earth. And then we'll combine the Earth and training continues because they're both pretty short. So that's it for right now. Today's day 4 when I read the last one, so I'm not ready to do this again. So that's it. I hope you're enjoying these. I hope you would leave a message or something saying, yeah, we like these, or these suck, something, anything, just so I know you're there. Anyway, that's it. I appreciate you coming by. Appreciate you listening. Have fun with your day. Be good and be good to yourself. Bye.